Welcome back to another episode of Life After Corporate, my friends. And if you're new to our show, welcome home. This is where we share with you what's actually working now in the market for corporate women leaders who are seeking to build a reputation and build revenue by taking their expertise and launching their own business. And today's guest is Kepo. She's a former management consultant turned high performance life coach and host of the Grow with Kepo podcast. She helps ambitious 9-to-5ers get clear on their genius, launch their dream business, and build the foundation for true time and financial freedom. Her work is bold, transformative, and designed for people who know they're made for more and finally ready to live like it. And that is indeed our audience. Welcome to Life After Corporate, Kepo.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today.
Yes, I'm very excited to be with you as well. So let's talk a little bit about your life after corporate journey. What led you to leave your high performing management consultant job, which I'm sure was a high pressure as well, to launch your life coaching business?
Great question. Because I believe that the thing that spurred me to start my business is probably what is burning on the hearts of people that are listening today. And it is just knowing that I am made for more.
Mm.
It is every time they ask me to work on some presentation, some pitch deck, and my heart is not there. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I don't care if Coca-Cola or FedEx get a 15% profit margin next year. You know, I was doing work that just wasn't lighting me up. And I realized something. I'm going to be working for a long time because I'm not one of those people that I just want to faff about and sit on the
Yeah.
couch, right? I'm going to be working for a mighty long time, and work takes a good chunk of our lives. Is this what I really want to be doing with my life? And that restlessness that wakes me up at 2 in the morning, like, what am I doing with my life? Feeling frustrated, seeing other people that they're not any smarter than me, just living the life that they actually want, living the life that I want. And it created this frustration within me. That's one. That's the inner battle. The external thing was the fact that I just got laid off all the time.
Oh, no.
Couldn't keep a job. I mean, I'll keep it for a couple of years, but something would happen. And I got the consistent feedback from my managers, my bosses, like, Kepo, when your heart is not in something, it shows.
Mm.
Especially when you don't agree with why we're doing something, your quality of work just drops. So that's how I know that, okay, I'm not a great employee. I am really great at running the show.
Yeah.
I
It's
am not
clearly
great at
you're super smart. And what I love about this conversation is we're generations apart, at least one generation, maybe two. I don't know how old you are.
yes.
And what I'm seeing is women who are younger and younger. When I first started this business 12 years ago, most of my clients were in their late 40s and early 50s. And now I'm seeing women in their 30s, in their early 40s. So women in their 30s who don't have children yet, who don't have families, who aren't even married, are taking their career in their own hands and in their own arms and building something special right from the start. And so congratulations, because, it took me decades to figure that out after I was wearing the monochromatic suits, trying to fit in the whole Goldilocks syndrome, not being too loud, not being too soft, not being, too harsh on my team, and all of those things that we did as baby boomers to fit into the box. So happy to see generations behind us having sovereignty over their careers.
Yes, I would even take it back to women in their late 20s,
Mm.
because I have spoken to some people that have come into my world like, hey, I don't really like this soul sucking job. It's not fulfilling. They when I talk about the pain that I have felt throughout corporate, they can relate with it. And the other thing is, it took me at least 12 years of restlessness and trying different things, and starting my own business, going back to corporate, starting my own business, and doing that cycle
Mhm.
as well. So I would say that, yeah, maybe anything from 25 and up, when they've had at least 2 years of really hard work in corporate, they're like, wait, what am I doing this for again?
Yeah, exactly. I think, younger generations want more purpose. and they want a bigger why behind what they're putting their energy behind. So let's talk about your work and
Mhm.
how you're helping other women make this transition. What is the biggest struggle that you're noticing when women are first making this transition? And do you work with men as well, or just women? Okay.
Women, even though I advertise like I'm talking to both men and women, I notice more women come into my world. So
Yeah, it's just, I think we're willing to invest in ourselves. We're willing to be vulnerable too and say
yeah.
what we don't know and what it feels like. And I know from my own work that this is a huge identity transition. So what are you seeing with your clients, and how are you working with them through that transition? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And the biggest thing is belief in themselves, because throughout their career they've had this umbrella of, corporate world, the titles, the salary, it's constant. Even maybe the way to work, like the different frameworks and the rules to follow, even though ironically they don't like the rules, they feel restricted by those rules. But once they think about stepping out of under that umbrella, it's very, very scary. And a lot of the things that I hear all fall under this umbrella, which is lack of belief in themselves.
Mm.
If they only just had the certainty and conviction in themselves that, wait, if I set my mind to this thing and I'm a genius in this particular area, I can actually serve people with this genius, and this can be my life. But because if they don't believe in themselves, in their ability to do that, then everything else falls apart. It doesn't matter what strategy we are talking about. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. Oh, you need more online presence and this. Everything always just keeps coming back to that same topic about belief in themselves.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I know has been the key unlock for them to actually make that shift is two things: keeping the promises that they make to themselves, and then focusing on the actual service, the people that they are serving. Because when you start keeping the promises that you make to yourself, even if it's as little as making your bed or sending that email when you said you were going to send it, you tell your brain and you tell yourself that, wow, I can count on me. And then that actually changes everything. Like, well, I can count on, I can actually do
Hmm.
this. And then the second part of focusing on the people you're actually trying to serve, it takes the focus away from you. Because honey, guess what? It was never really about you, right? This is not a me marketing. It's about them getting obsessed with the people you're trying to serve. And that takes away the noise of, oh, I don't know if my hair looks good, or no, I look a mess today, I don't want to post. It's like, no, if somebody really needs to hear what you need to say today, why do you care if your lipstick is off or you haven't done your brows? All these
Yeah,
things
and
that
I think people want more true originality, right? So authenticity got a little polished last year, and we kind of got away from what is the real narrative here? What is it that we really need to say? And truthfully, when you're new to entrepreneurship, it requires bravery. You don't have proof. You have purpose, but you don't have proof until you put yourself out there. And I love
that
how you've, flipped the lens that it's all about them, it's not about you. Because if you do stand behind that, then all you have to do is write, speak, get on video if that's your jam. I'm
Mhm.
of a mind where, even Gary Vee said long form content is where it's at in 2026.
Mhm.
Being able to describe the pain points, the journey, what your clients are truly feeling. One of my highest shared, commented impression posts ever was a post on LinkedIn about the secret shame that women feel when they make this
Mhm.
leap from corporate leadership to entrepreneurship, because you knew the rules of the game. You were successful, you had the title, you had the paycheck, you had the validation. And that's what's missing when you make this transition from 9 to 5. You're lacking that validation that you are somebody in this new role.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an identity shift, especially for women who tie their identity and self-worth to their job titles, their salary. This shift actually forces you to tie your identity to something more solid, more permanent than a job title. Because then you really, entrepreneurship actually helps you get to know your true
Oh my
self.
God, it's the ultimate form of spiritual development.
1000%, because oh, all of a sudden, when you go out to networking events, also, what do you do? And then now you can't say, oh, I'm VP of operations at so and so. It's like now you really need to be able to articulate how it is that you bring value to the world. And that right there it feels like shaky ground for a lot of people, because we're just raised to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and we never really had time to create that margin to actually really understand who we are and what we're about and what we're here to give the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You talked in some of the notes that we had beforehand about you can't shortcut embodiment. What do you mean by that?
Let me give you an example of what I'm seeing. What I see online a lot is a bunch of coaches claiming that they made X amount of money, and showing this life that they don't yet have, because somebody told them that this is what sells. This is the stuff that will tug at the emotions of people that you're trying to get to, whereas deep down you know that you're not even there yet, and that there's a serious misalignment there. It's very misleading, and that is why sometimes even people, if people like that sign up clients, they still fall short of actually giving them results. You cannot shortcut that. You can only give what you have. Or put it the other way, the way it's normally said, you can't give what you don't have, right? You cannot you cannot claim to be something just based on a bunch of posts online. You actually have to embody that, and you have to go through that journey yourself. Or how would you really understand the pain of transformation, the challenges, the voices in the heads of people they are trying to help, if you haven't actually walked that path,
Yeah.
right? And so people will say, well, a doctor doesn't need to have had cancer or something. Maybe that's an extreme example. A doctor doesn't need to have had this infection before they know how to help you. That's different. That's just based on science. You read something, you're like, okay, this person has these symptoms, you give them this medication. In this particular thing, we're selling some kind of transformation,
Yeah.
and you're putting it out there that you can help them with that, but you can't yet until you have actually embodied it. And there is no shortcuts in it, because you actually need to go
Yes.
through it in order to know what it is you're even saying.
I think
What are you talking
I
about?
think this is why we're in a trust recession right now, is because we talked about low barrier to entry to coaching. Anyone can claim that they're a business coach or advisor, but what the majority of these people are doing is taking a course and taking that same material, or working with a coach and taking that same framework and rehashing it and repackaging it. And what you're saying is they haven't achieved those results, so it's disingenuous because they are selling something that they really don't have the gravitas or experience to lead someone else through. Right. So you learned one
Exactly.
thing. So it's not like going to med school and becoming a doctor and being able to diagnose people. What you've done is very surface level. And so let's talk about why there are no shortcuts to
Yeah.
creating a business that actually delivers transformation to others, but also helps you replace that corporate paycheck. Because I don't know about you, but that's the number one thing that I hear is I've got X number of months or X number of years where I can survive. And by that time, I need to replace that corporate paycheck come hell or high water.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of my
Mhm.
clients are mothers, spouses, some are single moms, primary wage earners in their families. So this pressure is real. How do you deal
Mhm.
with that from a mindset perspective?
So the problem that creates is women are now forced to apply so much pressure on that thing that they want to do to be their income provider. And that is what changes the focus from service to self. And it's a catch 22, because if you If your mind is on, I need to make this money now, I need to replace my income, then inevitably you're going to start chasing the money, and it's no longer going to be about impact. Then it's going to be about, let me Google the top 10 most profitable niches and let me just do that. And then it's going to be about, okay, what are the things that people are doing in these niches? Oh, look at what they are talking about. Let me talk about that too, even though I haven't embodied it. And it's crazy. That does two things. Number one, I said it puts the focus back on yourself, and then you forget why you're even doing this thing in the first place. And you're completely disconnected from your mission. A lot of times, what I see with women is they're not even doing what it is that they have that deep passion or genius for. The second thing is that it erodes on their self confidence,
Yeah.
because then you are not actually doing any of those things that you say you're doing. So that means that you're not keeping the promises that you made to yourself. You are not showing up the way you're claiming to show up. You're you're being somebody else. You're impersonating somebody else. You are designing your life from somebody else's book. And that just creates even more tension. Then you get more frustrated because you're not getting the results. And as I said earlier, even if you get the results, it will fall flat very quickly, because very quickly it'll be obvious that you cannot provide those solutions to your customers because you haven't walked through it. You don't know what it is you're doing. You're just, like you said, reading from a textbook. And as you and I know in this industry, that when you're working maybe one on one with a client, nobody is a textbook client. Everyone is unique.
Yes.
There are a lot of similarities. So if you're trying to just read from, oh, this is how you create a course, when it comes to actually delivering the service, it falls flat very quickly.
Yeah, it does. And what I was thinking of is that there are no quick fixes, right? So there's no magic bullet. And in reality, there are probably four very simple things that you need to do and do consistently well that will lead you to replacing that corporate salary. But what happens is, because we're looking for those immediate results and those quick fixes, you may try a strategy once and not get the results that you want. And so therefore, you're, like you said, looking outside and saying, oh, someone else is marketing this way, maybe I'll try that. The problem is that you don't develop any credibility or wisdom in a process that works for you. Like for me, when I first transitioned 12 years ago, I
Mhm.
was taught how to speak to sell and to do that in a webinar format. And my very first time, I was scared. I was super uncomfortable. Speaking with something that was in public was something that was very uncomfortable for me, even when I was in corporate, from when I was a kid, all of it. But I stuck with it. I learned from it. And for 12 years, being on other people's stages, delivering value to my ideal clients, giving them ideas, strategies at a high level. We're also selling ourselves, but we're selling ourselves through value. That's the primary way I have earned millions of dollars over these last 12 years. Primary
Yeah.
way. And it was something that wasn't easy for me to do, but I had to perfect it. And in 2026, we're in a period of time where this year is going to feel very chaotic. Everything is moving really quickly, especially with AI. And I'm also of a mind that being the anti-AI is where true originality comes from, because what we're going to find out is that people are going to start sounding the same. We already know
Yeah.
that there are AI tells, and I can spot it in someone's writing. I can spot it in someone speaking. It's a cadence with which AI speaks.
Hmm.
And it also creates a common narrative that everybody's going to be hopping on, because it is a learning model that pulls from what everybody else has already said. So to be a true original, you need to stick with something long enough to be an original, to be an
Yeah.
expert.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I've forgotten how the saying goes about how long it takes to achieve a level of mastery. I think it's maybe
10,000
10,000
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10,000 hours to achieve a level of mastery. And the ironic thing is, I think that maybe women, when and I can say that when women try to shortcut, because I have done this, that is why I know that you fall flat on your face. I did this several times. It doesn't work, ladies. But I think the problem is we forget that the people who actually need our service are just like us, right? Deborah, when you want to get your hair done, like you want to get a color or whatever in, you find the person who is best at that thing. And whether you like it or not, you're looking at the number of the reviews, the number of how long they've been in the business for all of that, and then you go for that. But for some reason, when we flip it around on ourselves, we somehow gaslight ourselves into thinking that, yeah, I can just put up this banner and say, I did this course, and boom, all of a sudden I'm an expert in this. It doesn't work like that.
No. And also, you're an original, right? So no one has your DNA. No one on this planet is you. No one has had your lifetime of experience from childhood through your corporate career, through education, your corporate career, through what you're experiencing right now. And
Mhm.
that's where I feel we all need to lean in harder is what makes you you, what makes you an original, because it's not just your latest credential. And I don't know if you see this, but someone gets a new certification and suddenly you're a life coach or a health coach or a business coach, whatever kind of coach you
Mhm.
are. And suddenly everything you've experienced before this point of time is no longer relevant, but it is.
Yep, it is. And you know something? It is our training from corporate and from college that, has trained us to lean on titles, on credentials as our our platform that we stand on. And you asked me a question in the beginning. You said, what is the biggest trend that I'm seeing? And I said is belief, lack of belief in self. And we talked about how there's a shift of identity that needs to happen when you're going from corporate to entrepreneurship. That right there is what it is. Because when you just throw away all your life experiences, you throw away the essence of who you are and what makes you unique, and you don't bring that into the table, then everything feels flat. Your identity is not so strong. You're not so convicted in what it is you're doing. And that is why you don't have that belief, that strong belief in yourself. And there's just a lot of self doubt, a lot of noise, and people will call it imposter syndrome. It's like, no, you just haven't come to terms with what it is that makes you so unique. And as you said, every single person is an original, but most people are just running towards becoming a copy only because they've seen other people have that success, and they feel that they need to be exactly that before they can be
And
successful.
that's why I think people need coaches, coaches, advisors, mentors. Someone needs to hold up the mirror because we don't
Yeah.
see ourselves clearly. There's a
Yeah.
line one of my coaches used years ago saying, you can't read the label from inside the jar. We don't see ourselves clearly. So there's one more thing I want to cover before we end this
Mhm.
interview. A lot is changing in the industry. More women than ever are making this choice for very good reasons. More freedom, more flexibility. They want fuller lives. They want to make more money, impact. They want agency. They want sovereignty. And it's harder than most people think, which is what we've just talked about. So many look for those business coaches and advisors. And what we've learned the last 2 years is that women are investing in support, not getting what they hope to get, which eroded trust. And even right now, many of the biggest names in coaching are closing down the offers that they've had in market for many years and that they've made millions of dollars off of, served hundreds of thousands of clients. What do you think is the future of business coaching and advisory? What do you see as the next frontier?
You know what, Deborah? The next frontier is is so old school. It's almost painful. And this is it. Because AI is taking over so much, and tech, and there's lack of authenticity all around us, people are craving more in-person experiences more than ever before. They just want that more organic, one-on-one, close-knit, intimate experience. They want to feel the energy of the person in the room. I don't care how awesome or how powerful AI is, even in its application, nothing replaces the energy exchange that happens when two humans are in the same physical space. And that right there is where the honey is at. Like, if we're really trying to connect with people and really help them going forward, I honestly believe that that is where it is at.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm loving this conversation, Kepo. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. It's intimacy, it's going deep. And and my friends, if you're looking for mentorship or support, that's what you should be looking for, someone who will really see you. If you're looking for colleagues and collaborators, being in rooms of small rooms, not Zoom rooms with hundreds of people who have bought the same program, who are vying for 30 seconds of airspace to ask a question, but where you're seen, you're understood, your difference is noted, and you're in a room of people who are like you. So,
Yeah,
Kepo, this has been such a refreshing conversation. I've enjoyed every minute of it. How
it's
do people get in touch with you? How do they learn more about you, follow you? What's
yeah.
the path?
Thank you. Yeah, two paths. In on Instagram, it's Grow with Kepo. And if you want to go to my website, so you can see all the different ways that we can work together, that's onikepo.com.
Mhm.
But I think the very fun way is just on Instagram, because then you see all my stories and you see everything come to life, right? Because my website is just a bunch of static pages.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
Right. I'll have to
Yeah.
follow you on Instagram. Grow with Kepo, Kepo on
Yes.
Instagram. And Kepo, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much. This was really great. Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
it's
I
been
really
my pleasure,
appreciate
my
it.
honor, really. That's it for now, my friends. You know what's coming up next. Join us next week for more great advice, strategies, tools, resources, and people who can help you be successful as you make this transition to entrepreneurship. We'll see you then.